We're at the next to the last chapter or section in the book of prayer. Last one being funeral prayer. قال المصنف رحمه الله, said the author Abu Shuja', may Allah have mercy upon him. فصل, section. ويحرم على الرجال لبس الحرير. Forbidden for the men is wearing silk. That's whether the material is taken from the worm when it's alive or after it's dead. Has different names, but in all those cases, this material is forbidden for the men to wear. وَالتَّخَتُّمُ بِالذَّهَبِ, and wearing golden rings. تَخَتُّم, yani taking a ring. Taking a ring of gold is what it means. So, and forbidden for the men is lubsul harir, wearing silk. وَالتَّخَتُّمُ بِالذَّهَبِ, and taking a ring of gold. وَيَحِلُّ لِلنِّسَاءِ, and that's lawful for the women, both of them. وَيَسِيرُ الذَّهَبِ وَكَثِيرُهُ سَوَاء, and a little bit of gold and a lot are the same. They have the same judgment. الشرح, the explanation. ويحرم على الرجال لبس الحرير والتختم بالذهب, and forbidden for the men is wearing silk and taking a golden ring. والقز في حال الاختيار, and this includes the qaz. The qaz is what is taken from the worm while it's alive. And the ibraisam is what's taken from it after its death. Ibraisam. And harir, silk, covers both of those. Also covers the D badge, although they would be mentioned as if they're different. The D badge is thick silk. Yani in the hadith they are mentioned like counterparts. The harir and the D badge. And the D badge is the thick silk. And the harir is silk. وَكَذَا يَحْرُمُ التَّغَطِّيَةُ بِالْحَرِيرِ, it's also forbidden to cover with silk. Wearing silk and to cover with silk, like bedding. That's for men. وَالِاسْتِنَادُ إِلَيْهِ, and leaning on it. وَافْتِرَاشِهِ, or وَالِاسْتِنَادُ إِلَيْهِ, and leaning on it. وَافْتِرَاشُهُ, and laying it out, like sitting on it. And the meaning here is using it in general usages of it, with some exclusions. And this is when you are sure that that's silk, not if you doubt the man. And sometimes you'll be told something silk, it's not really silk. Like those cheap ties that they sell, neckties, and say that they are silk. وَحُجَّةُ ذَلِكَ نَهْيُهُ صلى الله عليه وسلم عن ذلك. The evidence for that is the Prophet's forbidding it, صلى الله عليه وسلم. وفي رواية البخاري, in Al-Bukhari's narration, there is نهانا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن لبس الحرير. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم forbade us from wearing silk. What D badge, and the D badge, thick silk. وأن نجلس عليه, and sitting on it. ويحل لبسه للنساء, but it's permissible for women to wear it. And what's the meaning behind this prohibition here for the men? Two things. One of them is that it is effeminate. It is contrary to the masculinity and maybe the word is the bravado, the macho-ness that a man should have. Shahama is the Arabic word. The shahama of the man. That's his masculinity or his toughness or his bravado or something to this effect. Silk is contrary to this, so it's not permissible for the man. It's effeminate. It's not haram for the woman though, because she's not supposed to be masculine. And therefore it's not haram for the child also. Well, it's not going to be haram on the child. The child's not accountable, but it wouldn't be haram if the guardian allowed the male child to wear silk. Because this child doesn't yet have the bravado or the masculinity that's defied by silk. We'll see here. It's permissible for the women because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I said two things. And the second thing is that it is extravagance and conceitedness. Yani, it brings that out of the person. Had an interesting talk with a brother, subhanallah. He was saying to me that a person, he might do some things and he would say, no, it's not conceit. It's not, me wanting to show off. He said to me, but the religion would say that this is haram because it invokes the conceit. That brother said to me, and really, it brings the conceit out of the person. These things that the religion says, that's haram because of the khuyala, the vanity that's involved in it. He said, it really does, though, bring out that vanity from the person. This vanity that the religion forbids us from. وَيَحِلُّ لُبْسُهُ لِلنِّسَاءِ. And wearing it is lawful for the women. لِقَوْلِهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Because the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, أُحِلَّ الذَّهَبُ وَالْحَرِيرُ لِإِنَاثِ أُمَّتِي. Gold and silk were legalized for the females of my nation. وَحُرِّمَ عَلَى ذُكُورِهَا. And they were forbidden for its males. رواه الإمام أحمد في مسنده. Imam Ahmad narrated this in his Musnad. وقال الترمذي حسن حديث حسن صحيح. And at-Tirmidhi said, it is a Hasan Sahih hadith. وقوله ويحرم على الرجال. And when the author said, it's forbidden for the men, في غير الضرورة. This means without necessity or emergency or urgent situation or not under critical condition. ويحل للضرورة. It is lawful for a male in critical condition or in emergency or urgent situation. كحر وبرد مهلكين. Like fatal or dangerous heat and cold. And also the scholars mention the sudden outbreak of war and you didn't have time to find something else, so you had to put on some silk. That's lawful. And you might think, okay, yeah, so because you need to run out the door, there's war going on, you need to hop into action. There was some silk right there, you threw it on and ran out the door. That's not only what's intended here, but that the silk actually has some properties such that it's not easily penetrated by the sword. وَيُؤْخَذُ مِنْهُ أَنَّهُ لَا يَحْرُمُ عَلَى الصِّبْيَانِ. It's taken from this statement of the author when he said forbidden on the men. Yani, it's understood from it that it's not forbidden for the children, male children. حتى إنه يجوز لولي الصبي أن يلبسه. It is permissible for the guardian of the child to dress him in silk. Yani, that's what's taken from the author's statement. Let me read that again. It's taken from the author's statement, يُؤْخَذُ مِنْهُ أَنَّهُ لَا يَحْرُمُ عَلَى الصِّبْيَانِ, that it's not forbidden for the children. حَتَّى إِنَّهُ يَجُوزُ لِوَلِيِّ الصَّبِيِّ أَنْ يُلْبِسَهُ, so that it would be permissible for the guardian of the child to dress the child in silk. That's what's taken from what the author said when he said forbidden for the men. وَهُوَ كَذَلِكَ, and that's correct. على الصحيح عند الرافعي في الشرح الكبير, according to الرافعي in الشرح الكبير. وقول المصنف ويسير الذهب وكثيره سواء, and when the author said a little bit of gold and a lot of it are the same, يعني في التحريم, he means in prohibition, which is what's here in this copy that I'm sharing with you on the screen. وقليل الذهب وكثيره في التحريم سواء, says there في التحريم. Little gold and lots of it are equally prohibited. The prohibition is mentioned in the manual, in this copy of the manual. And it says here, قليل الذهب وكثيره. And in the copy that I'm reading to you in my presence, it says, يسير الذهب. Instead of قليل الذهب, يسير الذهب. قليل means little bit. And يسير also means little bit. وكثيره سواء. A little bit and a lot of it are the same. That's what's mentioned in the copy I'm reading to you. It doesn't mention the tahrim, the prohibition. And a little bit of gold and a lot are the same. So in this explanation then, this explanation is tailored to this copy. Who was explaining this copy? Al-Hisni. He's the author of Kifayatul Akhyar, the explanation of Abu Shuja, that Syrian scholar. We're reading now the summary of that. So this was the copy that Al-Hisni was explaining. So his copy didn't have in it this word, fit tahrim. But this explanation here, which is tailored to this version of the text, it says, يعني fit tahrim, meaning the prohibition. والأصل في ذلك قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the source of that is the Prophet's saying, may peace and blessings be upon him, لا تلبسوا الحرير والديباج, do not wear silk nor dibaj. Extend that D there to dibaj, like how you say E-man, you stretch that E sound, not Iman, E-man, dibaj. ولا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة, and do not drink from containers of gold or silver. فإنها لهم في الدنيا ولكم في الآخرة. Indeed, that is for them in this earthly life, but it's for you in the afterlife, the containers of gold and silver. رواه البخاري ومسلم. Al-Bukhari and Muslim narrated that. ولهذا تتمة مهمة مرت في أول الكتاب. And this subject has an important continuation that passed in the beginning of the book, in the book of purification. نعم. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تلبسوا الحرير والديباج ولا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة فإنها لهم في الدنيا ولكم في الآخرة. That's the hadith. قال المصنف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, وإذا كان بعض الثوب إبريسما وبعضه قطنا أو كتانا, and if some of the dress, the clothing, were إبريسم, يعني silk, and some of it were cotton or Katan, I forgot what's katan. Another material. جاز لبسه ما لم يكن الإبريس مغالبا. It would be permissible to wear it as long as the silk were not dominant. Meaning, you could, as a man, have some silk in your clothing as long as it's not most of the clothing. الشرح الحرير إذا ركب مع غيره مما يباح استعماله. The explanation is that silk, when it is combined with something else that is permissible to use, كالكتان وغيره, like al-kattan, yani is any other material really, or anything else here, kattan or anything else, ينظر, then it's investigated. إن كان الأغلب الحرير حرم. If the majority of this dress or clothing were silk, then it's forbidden. وإن كان الأغلب غيره حل تغليبا لجانب الأكثر. And if the majority of this clothing were something else, then the clothing, all of it, is lawful by giving dominance to the majority of it. والصحيح أن الاعتبار بالوزن في الكثرة والقلة. And what's correct is that regard is given to weight in being majority or minority. واعلم أنه يحل الثوب المطرز والمطرف الذي جعل طرفه حريرا. And know that it is permissible, yani a clothing is permissible if it has embroidery, yani like some fancy design on it. That's like silk though. Or it has some silk edges, like katauki, like the collar, wal farji, and the cockpiece, waru'usul akmam, and the cuffs, والذيل, and the tail, ظاهرا كان التطريف أو باطنا. Whether this the hem, whether this hem, the hem that has the silk, whether it were on the outside or on the inside. والأصل في ذلك أحاديث, and the source of that is hadiths. منها ما رواه مسلم عن عمر رضي الله عنه. Amongst them is what Muslim narrated from Umar, may Allah accept his deeds. نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن لبس الحرير. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم forbade wearing silk إلا في موضع أصبع أو أصبعين أو ثلاث أو أربع, except an amount of a finger, like the width of a finger, or 2 or 3 or 4, meaning here not more than 4 fingers in length, in breadth, 4 fingers across. Intaha, end quote. Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best.